Well, it's that time of the year again when the Freddie freeloading climate evangelists fly off in their CO2 emitting aircraft to talk about how much they need to stop emitting CO2 to save the planet from global warming. Like, seriously. Sorry, global boiling. Yes, it's the United Nations' favourite talkfest, COP29, which begins next Monday in the city of Baku, the capital of Azerbaijan. There'll be plenty of sightseeing for the 200-odd delegates because Baku has an old walled city with palaces inside it, and the modern section features a set of huge towers which are covered with LED screens. And while COP28 was seen as an outstanding success because most countries signed an historic agreement to steer the world away from coal, oil and gas, COP29 is unapologetically aimed at collecting billions of dollars to fund these climate projects. Yes, they will gather to determine how much money richer countries and investors need to cough up to give to poorer countries to deal with all this boiling. We are talking about collecting cheques in the vicinity of $1.5 trillion a year or even more. But guess what? The list of no-shows this year is almost as long as the attendees. Chief cheque signatory, US President Joe Biden, is not planning on travelling to Baku. His successor, Donald Trump, wouldn't think of attending. The leaders from the two biggest CO2 emitting countries, China and India, are also expected to avoid making appearances. The Brazilians cancelled a planned trip to COP29, apparently because the leader suffered a head injury last month. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz will no longer attend. The political scene in Berlin right now is very unstable. And the Dutch Prime Minister is also a no-show. But wait, there's more. Also absent is France's Emmanuel Macron, Canada's Justin Trudeau, the European Union's Ursula von der Leyen, and the potential host of COP31, Australia's Anthony Albanese. According to the Australian Financial Review this week, many of the big-hitting global corporate executives who have made a habit of attending the COPs are also skipping the summit. It will be a dud. And you know why? The world is in serious financial and social strife. There are real global problems being inflicted on the big nations of the world, problems that mean people die. The appetite for signing more cheques for a lazy $20 billion here and there is just non-existent. Funneling money into climate scaremongering has been superseded by money required to prop up sick economies, funding defence strategies and dealing with the cost of mass immigration. And let me add to that the suspicion that these climate billions are just wasted. Up to $41 billion in World Bank climate finance, nearly 40% of all climate funds dispersed by the bank over the last 7 years is unaccounted for due to poor record-keeping practices. That's what I reported here last month, as revealed by a new Oxfam report. An audit showed that between $24 and $41 billion in climate finance went unaccounted for between the time projects were approved and when they closed. No wonder so many world leaders are boycotting COP29. Maybe it should be renamed CON29. That size of unaccountability is inexcusable, or worse, it's criminal. But while the key leaders of the world have boycotted this climate talkfest, so no US, no EU, you know who will be turning up? The Taliban. According to Reuters, the Taliban has accepted the invitation to Baku under the guise of being Afghan officials. The only officials in Afghanistan belong to the Taliban. That will do me. COP29 is now officially an international embarrassment. No doubt the willing attendees, the loyal climate scaremongers, they will fly in on their CO2-producing public and private jets this weekend with plenty of doom and gloom to tell us about. Let me guess, it's the hottest year ever. We'll get that. Human existence will cease maybe in 50 to 100 years' time. We'll get that. And the standard line, the richest nations need to pay more or else. Well, if CO2 is truly the culprit, if it is, until they force China and India to stop emitting 40% of the world's total, all these trillions of dollars will do sweet bugger all. Maybe some of the countries who've been throwing billions of dollars at this climate cult for no reduction in CO2, mind you, are finally waking up to the con.